Breastfeeding in public, is it really the woman's choice? Recently in the news, there was a LDS woman in northern Utah that was denied access to her church's temple because of her breastfeeding in her church's foyer. This created such a stir that even BuzzFeed picked up on the story and printed an article about it. Today, Sarah, Ryan, and myself would like to look at the benefits of breastfeeding, the social aspects of it, and how women can be empowered to make it really their choice. With all of the media coverage on all of these things, we felt that it was very important to look into the aspects of how much of this really is an issue and how much of a choice it is for the women. In the BuzzFeed article, this LDS woman shared that she had sat down in the foyer of her LDS church, and as she was sitting there, her daughter needed to eat, and she proceeded to breastfeed her child. A few weeks later, she was called in by her clergy, her bishop, and this is what they quoted her in saying. She said, "He called me in and told me that people had complained, and they were just worried about the young men sexualizing my breastfeeding of my daughter. If this is being discussed by the clergy, how much of a choice really is this for our women?" I recently came across a video by Christina Kuzmic that made light of how much of a issue this is. While she's poking fun and having a good time with it, I feel like she brings out some really good points, and I wanted to share this video with you. So please take a minute and watch.
4 reasons women should never breastfeed in public. Number 1, it's offensive and inappropriate. We don't live in a society where it's okay to just show part of your breasts or cleavage in public. If I'm breastfeeding in public and somebody walks by and they see me, I could offend them with my boobs. I wouldn't want to offend someone by breastfeeding in front of them. By breastfeeding in public, we are spreading the lie that breasts serve a purpose other than just to turn someone on. That kind of lie could totally screw kids up. Number 2, even if we use one of those breastfeeding covers, it's not guaranteed that the baby won't push it off. And then what? Your breast could be exposed for a second or two seconds. Seriously, babies who push the cover off are just spoiled brats. I don't see what's so uncomfortable about eating with a cover on your head. That's not sweaty or hot or dark or claustrophobic at all. Number 3, women who breastfeed in public aren't doing it because their baby is actually hungry. No, they're just trying to seduce your husbands with their milk-filled, leaking, engorged breasts. Skinks. And if men are staring at a breastfeeding mom's obvious sluttiness, that's totally normal. What are they supposed to do? Notice her breastfeeding and then look away? Weird. Number 4, we're moms. We don't need to go out in public. We gave up that right when we started popping out babies. We don't need to go shopping or eat out or have a social life. Nowadays, everybody delivers. Just Amazon Prime it. And even if for some crazy reason, like an emergency, we have to leave the house, there are plenty of places to hide while breastfeeding. There is no common sense reason why we need to traumatize the public by breastfeeding in front of them. Sometimes I seriously ask myself, did these breastfeeding moms even want to have children? Or did they just have them so they could ruin everybody's day with their exhibitionism? Put your boobs away, ladies! Unless they're dairy-free, then show them off.
Even though this video makes light of the situation, I really truly feel like she has some good points as far as women's rights and what they're actually doing by the natural thing of breastfeeding their children. For the LDS woman that I previously chatted about, she ended up deciding that she was going to do the 2-shirt method, where she would wear 2 shirts to church every Sunday in order to be able to nurse her child, but also keep herself covered up enough that it wasn't going to make others uncomfortable. Today, we wanted to share a few thoughts with you. Ryan will be covering the value of breast milk and how much of an issue is it really in public. And then Sarah will be sharing the resources for women to know their rights, and to find the support that is right for them.
I will be talking about the value of breast milk, the importance of it, and also the topic of public breastfeeding. And like the story that Cindy shared, it is a very controversial topic. But I'd just like to start off with a quote that I found that the World Health Organization gave. So as we know, there are various values of breast milk, and I will cover most of them. But I just like to start off with a really powerful quote. So the World Health Organization, who said the following about the value of breast milk and infant mortality. It says, exclusive breastfeeding reduces infant mortality due to common childhood illnesses such as diarrhea or pneumonia, and helps for quicker recovery during illness. So, as we all know, a woman, after she has a child, she begins to breastfeed. Her milk comes in, and then from there, she has a choice to exclusively breastfeed, which is what the World Health Organization actually suggests. They tell women to breastfeed exclusively for the first 6 months of life. And if they do that, infant mortality will go way down. And some more values. The following, I'll just read a list really quick of the benefits that breast milk has. It boosts the baby immune system because the mother gives the antibodies in the breast milk. So actually, if the mother catches an illness, if it's flu season and she gets sick, right away, if she has the baby, she will produce antibodies that will be in her breast milk and pass on to the baby. And I thought that was really interesting. You know, something, people pay vaccines, people pay money, people buy drugs in order to help boost their immune system. Yet this simple and totally free, except for the mother's food, totally free substance boosts the baby's immune system. I mean, that's something that's awesome. This next fact I thought was very interesting. After doing some research, I found out that when a mother breastfeeds her child, the baby's saliva actually communicates to the mother what it stands in need of, what vitamins or minerals or chemicals it stands in need of. So let's say the baby needs more vitamin C. If the mother is breastfeeding, the baby will communicate through its saliva to the mother's body that it needs more vitamin C, and from there, the mother's milk will actually be higher in vitamin C, which I thought was an awesome fact. The World Health Organization says that the breast milk promotes sensory and cognitive development in children. It protects the infant against infectious and chronic diseases. Also, breastfeeding, it's a very intimate and special time between a mother and child, and it builds a strong bond between them. And honestly, that's something that's so special and so amazing, yet it's having this public scrutiny, and people are criticizing mothers for breastfeeding in public. I actually did an interview with a mother, and she said the following. I asked her these questions. What are your thoughts on public breastfeeding? Is it okay? What's your experience? When do you do it? Have you ever had any negative backlash or dirty looks from people? Do you think it should be publicly accepted? And if so, why? And she said the following. Good questions. This is something I'm somewhat passionate about. I totally think it's okay. I've always breastfed in public, and I've never used a cover. I tried with my first child, but it was so uncomfortable. Plus, they probably add to the stigma that you're doing something you shouldn't in public, and I think they draw even more attention to you. If I'm in public, I try to be discreet and not draw attention to myself. I've never had a dirty look or anything like that. It should definitely be publicly accepted because breastfeeding a baby when they are hungry shouldn't be sexualized. It is a completely normal thing to do, just like I eating in public. And that just brings me back to the video that Cindy showed us of the mother kind of taking lightly of this whole situation. But the person who's eating their salad in public with a cover over their head. I mean, that's not very natural, and breastfeeding is honestly something that comes naturally. So yes, it should be publicly accepted, and no, it shouldn't be sexualized, and it should be totally comfortable and totally normal for everyone. And now I'll pass it on to our next presenter.
I'm here to talk to you today about the rights and privileges that are extended to breastfeeding mothers. Now, if you are a breastfeeding mother, or if you know somebody who is breastfeeding or is contemplating breastfeeding, then it's important to understand what values and privileges, rights you have access to, and the laws that are already in place to support you in this venture. National Conference of State Legislature, NCSL website, does give you a breakdown by state of all the information and all of the various laws that already are in place for you individually. First of all, it's important to know all 50 states do protect you for breastfeeding in any public or private place. And then additionally, there's various laws in place protecting people either from being discriminated against for indecency laws, and also as simple as being able to be exempted from jury duty, which is difficult because the timing wouldn't allow for breastfeeding in a timely manner. It is important for us to respect the values there because, as was demonstrated during Cindy's message, women are not being respected right now completely overall, and we need to start being more attentive to and respectful of the value that breastfeeding places. Yes, it's better than it used to be, and the value of breast milk is becoming more publicly known, but it is still to the point where in public situations people are expecting to be having the nursing mother cover their child or to feed in the bathroom, and just to not have that in public view. Ryan also talked about the quality of breast milk and the value that that can bring to a child, both physically and mentally, and then also the emotional bond between mother and child as they're nursing, which obviously when you put a cover over that, that's going to cause some issues with getting that communication between mother and child. I myself was recently a nursing mother. I have an 18-month-old, and I didn't get a lot of discrimination from people according to the process of breastfeeding itself. I did spend a lot of time at home in that time period, and big part of me not breastfeeding in public was the concern over what my rights were and the laws were that pertained to me. Now that I know all the information that is available, if I was to ever have a child again and be in a situation where I could breastfeed, I feel I could be a lot more comfortable about being able to nurse in any environment. I challenge each of you to take the information that you have found out about today to understand both the different aspects of ways that we can be there to support breastfeeding mothers, and also why would we want to do that. And then go to the websites, go look up some information about what the laws are so that you can be an advocate for breastfeeding mothers, because it's not just an individual person and their child that you're supporting this situation. We are helping support the health of our future children, of future nations. As a group, with Cindy, Ryan, and Sarah, we really appreciate you taking the time to listen to this information. We hope this has been informative for you and that you can see the perspective that we have presented in a wonderful new light. Thank you.